a family massacre that shook an English village. In one of the most horrifying crimes of 2001, a quiet village in England awoke to a shocking massacre. A family found brutally murdered inside their home. The case was filled with mysteries and questions, with multiple suspects, but the final revelation was utterly unexpected. Shocking call to the police. On the morning of the crime, the police received a distress call from residents of Ashford, reporting the discovery of a family slaughtered inside their house. Officers rushed to the scene, and upon entering, they found 4 lifeless bodies in the living room. The father, Richard Harris, a real estate broker, stabbed twice. The mother, Catherine Harris, a prison guard at the local women's prison, stabbed twice. The eldest son, Alexander Harris, 19 years old, stabbed 3 times. The youngest son, Thomas Harris, nicknamed Tommy, 11 years old, stabbed multiple times. There was a chilling twist in the case. One survivor, sole survivor, or the killer. The only surviving family member was Ethan Harris, 17 years old. He was found among the village residents, appearing completely devastated. He recounted to the police that he had spent the night at his grandmother's house and had gone to visit his aunt in the morning. While at his aunt's home, he noticed that she was repeatedly trying to call his mother, but no one was answering. Concerned, Ethan decided to check on his family. Upon reaching the house, he knocked multiple times but got no response. Growing increasingly anxious, he borrowed a wooden plank from the mechanic next door to climb up and enter through the window. What he saw inside made him scream in terror. His entire family had been slaughtered in the living room. His cries gathered the villagers, who immediately called the authorities. A crime scene full of puzzles. As forensic experts began their investigation, several strange details stood out. All the bodies were found in the living room, meaning they were awake when they were attacked. 2. No signs of forced entry, suggesting the killer might have been someone they knew. 3. No valuables were stolen. Money and jewelry were untouched, ruling out robbery as a motive. 4. The brutality of the crime suggested multiple perpetrators, as it seemed unlikely for one person to subdue and kill 4 conscious victims without resistance. Based on these clues, detectives leaned towards the theory that the murders were an act of revenge and involved more than one person. The first lead, the suspicious van, then provided a critical piece of information. The night before, while heading to his grandmother's house, he saw a white van with 4 unknown men inside. One of them called him over, asking for directions to his father's house. Ethan identified himself as Richard Harris's son and guided them to the house before leaving. Police launched a massive search for the van and its occupants, but every lead turned cold. Ethan failed to recognize any of the vehicles they stopped, and no other witnesses had seen the van. Meanwhile, another investigation focused on Richard and Catherine's acquaintances and professional disputes. While the father had some business conflicts and the mother had dealt with inmates as a prison guard, nothing pointed to a grudge strong enough to warrant such a gruesome slaughter. And came the breakthrough that changed everything. Forgotten prescription that exposed the truth. During a routine search of the house, forensic officers found an old medical prescription from 1993. At first, it seemed irrelevant, but upon closer inspection, they discovered something shocking. The prescription was for Ethan Harris, diagnosed with a severe psychological disorder. His doctor had recommended that he be committed to Broadmoor Psychiatric Hospital. Suddenly, the investigation took a dramatic turn. Could it be that the only survivor was actually the killer, Ethan, a patient or a murderer? The police tracked down Dr. Edward Wilson, Ethan's psychiatrist, who provided disturbing insights. Ethan was diagnosed with psychopathy, a disorder characterized by extreme aggression, lack of empathy, and an inability to feel guilt or remorse. From a young age, he displayed violent tendencies, including strangling animals, torturing them, and trying to harm his younger siblings. At just 7 years old, he broke his little brother's rib during an attack and showed no signs of remorse. He was obsessed with working at a poultry shop, not to clean chickens, but to personally slaughter them with a knife. Despite repeated warnings from the doctor that Ethan was dangerous, his parents ignored medical advice, and his condition worsened over the years. Chilling confession. When confronted with the evidence, Ethan did not cry. He laughed. Zero remorse, he described the events of that horrific night. He hated his family, believing they despised him for being different. He resented them for punishing him whenever he misbehaved. He wanted to inherit everything by eliminating them. One evening while in the kitchen, he noticed a sharp new knife and had an idea. He took the knife to a sharpening service, making sure it was razor sharp for his plan. Then came the night of the massacre. He waited until everyone fell asleep. At dawn, he saw his mother, Catherine, wake up to pray. As she knelt in prayer, he crept up and stabbed her twice, killing her instantly. His father, Richard, woke up upon hearing her screams, but before he could react, Ethan rushed at him and stabbed him twice. His older brother, Alexander, woke up next and came to check the noise. Ethan ambushed and stabbed him repeatedly. That left Tommy, the youngest brother, who was standing in terror, shaking and crying. Ethan smiled at him reassuringly and said, "Don't worry, come here. I won't hurt you." As Tommy tried to run, Ethan grabbed him, stabbed him in the stomach and chest, and watched him collapse. His plan was calculated. He deliberately arranged all the bodies in the living room so the police would assume that multiple assailants were involved. The van story? Fabricated to mislead the detectives. Verdict that shocked the nation. In 2001, after a psychiatric evaluation confirmed that Ethan was fully aware of his actions, he stood trial. Sentence? Only 15 years in prison. Because he was 17 at the time of the murders, he avoided the death penalty. The most terrifying part, he's free now. Ethan Harris was released from prison after serving his sentence. He is now a free man. But has he received proper treatment? Or is society now living with a silent, ticking time bomb?